Now, last night, I mentioned the primaries held Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maryland. In Connecticut, you know, Hillary Clinton went all in on gun control, right? And I see this headline at the Huffington Post earlier today. Hillary Clinton wins Newtown after making gun control central to her campaign. Now, Hillary Clinton won the state of Connecticut overall last night against Bernie Sanders, 51.8% to Bernie Sanders, 46.4%. So not a resounding victory for Hillary Clinton. Wait, hang on one second here. Pull that graphic down. Actually, you can go leave it up. As you can see, on the Republican side in Newtown, Connecticut, Hillary Clinton didn't beat Donald Trump in terms of the vote numbers. The Huffington Post headline, Hillary Clinton wins Newtown after making gun control central to her campaign. So, yes, in the Democratic primary, she did win Newtown. 1,362 votes, 52.75% of the Democratic votes. Bernie Sanders, 1,177 votes, 45.58% of the votes cast in the Democratic primary in Newtown, Connecticut. But over on the Republican primary in Newtown, Connecticut, Donald Trump won, 56.68% of the vote, 1,654 votes in all. John Kasich second, 828 votes, 28.38%. Ted Cruz in third place, 372 votes, 12.75% of the vote. So in terms of all of the candidates that residents and voters in Newtown could vote for, no, Hillary Clinton did not win Newtown. Donald Trump won Newtown. Now, I don't think you're going to see that headline at Huffington Post. But it is worth noting. This piece at Huffington Post, Maria Fang, who is the associate politics editor, says that the win was significant because she made gun control a major issue in the state's primary, holding several campaign events that discussed gun violence. Okay, so if Hillary Clinton's win in Newtown and the Democratic primary is significant, well, then what is the significance of a Republican candidate actually getting the most votes of all of the candidates on the ballot there in Newtown, B, one who has expressed support for the right to keep and bear arms? What's the significance there, you think? Again, do you think that the Huffington Post will dare to ask these questions? I doubt it. The former Secretary of State, Huffington Post writes, has been eager to highlight the issue as an essential policy difference between her and Sanders in a state where it has become important and personal to voters. On the campaign trail, she emphasized Sanders' 2005 vote to allow gun manufacturers immunity in assuming legal liability over deaths caused by gun violence. Huffington Post says Clinton received, in addition to support from family members of some of those murdered in Newtown, Connecticut, Clinton received endorsements from Connecticut politicians like Governor Daniel Malloy, Senator Chris Murphy. This was the big thrust of Hillary Clinton's campaign. And she gets the Huffington Post headline. Hillary Clinton wins Newtown after making gun control central to her campaign. She gets the Huffington Post headline. But outside of the spin, when you just look at the raw number of votes, this is really, really interesting. Because what it suggests, and we have seen a couple of polls and stories out of Connecticut in particular before primary day, suggesting that gun control was not a big issue for Democratic primary voters. About 3% of Democratic primary voters, according to one poll anyway, said that gun control was a big issue for them. 3%. And of that 3%, one would imagine that there are a number of Democratic voters for whom gun control may be the most important issue, but they're not supportive of it. Because, again, there are Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians, probably even find some Greens out there who are also supporters of the right to keep and bear arms. It's not like it lines up 100% of Republicans are pro-gun, 100% of Democrats are anti-gun. It's not how it works. So even among that small number of Democratic voters for whom this was the big issue, they weren't all out there voting for gun control. And in terms of the electorate overall, at least there in the community of Newtown. Now, it's worth noting that statewide, Hillary Clinton actually did get more votes than Donald Trump. She got about 50,000 more votes than Donald Trump. But not in Newtown, Connecticut. And the Huffington Post a piece talking about how this was a central part of her campaign. This was a big win that has great significance. Again, I just think it's worth pondering what the significance of the fact that Hillary Clinton did not actually get the most votes in Newtown might be.